Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's September 27th, 2022. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those who are on Zoom, please, if you feel free, open up the chat box if you have any questions throughout the presentation. For those watching on Facebook right now, please, if you have any questions, just put them in the comment field. We are monitoring both feeds. We'll be sure to get those questions answered for you as our speaker takes a break. Please note also, for those people on Zoom, if you want to expand your LinkedIn connections, put your contact information in the Zoom chat window so you can connect with everybody else who's on the call today. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Just about 10 years ago, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I have copies. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. We've got a great topic coming up this Friday. The group's been around since the late 1990s, and I'll tell you about our program at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the Dallas Pick Crew. Just remember, your resume and your LinkedIn profile will not get you a job, but what it will do is get you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills is what's going to get you your next phone call. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They rotate through on a monthly basis. Today, our speaker is Kurt VandeMotter. He's a retained search executive at Linked Executive Search. He pays LinkedIn the big bucks to use LinkedIn, and he's going to show us what he's looking for when he's trying to find you. So, Kurt, thank you very much for being with us. And it's all yours. And you're muted. Still muted.
Muted. There we go. How's that?
There you go.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Kurt VandeMotter here. I'm glad that I can help you all out and maybe give you a tip that will help you advance your search. Everybody's on this call because they're actively looking for a new opportunity, I think. So we're all on the same page. Let me tell everybody a little bit about who I am first, a little bit more about me and my background. And then I want to make sure that everybody that's on the call, make sure if you've got a question that you throw it into the Q&A. Jeff is my wingman and he keeps an eye on that and will give me cues when there's questions. And that's really the most important part about this call is you've got the opportunity here today. You're talking to a recruiter. If you've got questions about how to work with a recruiter or anything in that category, I want you to make sure you ask that question now because this meeting is about you all, not me. After I hang up the call, I'll get back to working on some of the things that I'm working on and you'll be looking for a new opportunity. So make sure you ask those questions. Any questions you got, make sure you load them in there for us. So a little bit about me is I started the recruiting business, Linked Executive Search a long time ago, came out of corporate America, not as an HR executive, but as a hiring manager. So I came out of companies like Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, 7-Up, AT&T, and then I did some startup technology companies. And so that's a big differentiator in the recruiting industry because most recruiters, a lot of recruiters have been in the business their whole life, or they've been in it for a real long time. I've only been in it for 15 years. So it's a differentiator when I talk to candidates because I just approach search a little bit different. I have conversations with candidates that most recruiters probably wouldn't even talk to for a particular job, just because I'm always trying to make sure am I missing something? There's something out there that I didn't get. So I try to have as many conversations with candidates as I possibly can. I work all over the country. So my geographic territory is not just Dallas. I'm actually working on about 5 jobs right now, and working with a set of lawyers up in Kansas City, looking for legal lawyer. I'm looking for lawyers. I'm working for a parking company in California I'm looking for a vice president of sales, business development, and marketing. So that's a California opportunity. And then I'm working with a company in Tampa, actually. I just got a note from the owner, and he's buckled everything down and they've locked up the plant. And I'm looking for a cost accountant in a manufacturing environment. So those are a few things that I'm working on today. The team is working on. If you know anybody that fits those bills or any of those opportunities, and certainly I'd love those introductions. And you can get my email address off of my website, Linked Executive Search. So what we want to talk about today is using LinkedIn as a recruiting tool. And I've been using LinkedIn for recruiters for as long as they've had, well, not as long as they've had the product, but I probably have been using it for about 8 years now, 10 years. So I'm not an expert at it necessarily, but I certainly spent a lot of time in there. So again, if you've got questions about that, throw them over the bow and let's get them on the table for everybody to learn from. So LinkedIn Recruiter is a product that LinkedIn developed, and in the history of it is, I think I'm fairly accurate on this. There's another recruiting company out there that maybe you've heard of that's called Korn Ferry. It's an international recruiting company. They've got offices all over the world, all over the United States. I don't know how many employees, but they've probably got 10 or 15,000 employees. And they went to LinkedIn a long time ago and said that, you know, they were keeping and maintaining a database. But every day that database is out of date. And by that, I mean that I had one too. For years, I kept copies of everybody's resume and I could search that database. But the fact is that database, again, is outdated every night that I turn my computer off, because if candidates don't send me a new resume, then I might be looking at a resume that's 5 years old. And so they went to LinkedIn and helped develop a product that is called LinkedIn Recruiter today. They do charge quite a bit of money for it, but I don't know how, as a recruiter, you can do your job without it, to be honest. Excuse me. So what they did is they created a separate set of APIs that sit on top of LinkedIn. And so when I'm using LinkedIn Recruiter, you as a candidate can't see me anywhere. I don't show up on your radar anywhere. And that's because if I'm working, actually, there's another search I'm working on too. Here in Dallas, I'm looking for a market manager, somebody that's got consumer packaged goods, manufacturing experience and distribution experience. So it's a consumer packaged goods company. And if everybody that I looked at could see that I looked at their profile and would reach out to me potentially, I'd never get my job done, because I look at a lot of people every day. For this operations director, I spent the morning at Starbucks today. I had a couple of meetings, but I probably looked at another 40 candidates and sent messages to quite a few of those. So I can't have candidates just because I looked at your profile calling me to say, hey, you looked at my profile, what's going on? So it's when I'm in Recruiter, no candidate can see me. I'm invisible to the network. The only option I have, though, is when I do find a candidate that I want to talk to, the only option I've got is to send them an in-mail if they haven't provided me with their email information or their phone number. And so one of the first things I always coach candidates on is that it's okay to put your phone number and your email address in your LinkedIn profile. And you can put it in a number of different places, but the place I suggest you put it at is in your summary. And if you go to my summary, or if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see where I've put my contact information in there, because I want to be found by companies that are hiring. If you're a company that's getting ready to make a hire and you have had that job open for maybe a couple of months and you haven't been able to find the right person, that's when you might reach out to a recruiter to have them help you fill that role. And so my contact information, my email address, and my phone number are in my LinkedIn profile. Very easy for people to see it, very visible. So if you've got a question about that and you're reluctant to put your contact information in there, I would tell you that it's a game changer for recruiters. And so if you're actively looking, put your phone number in there or your email address if you don't want to put both. Remember that you're not giving them your address to your home. If you don't like the email that they send you, then you can delete it. If you get a message, you get a phone call and you don't know who it is, you can let it go to voicemail and return the phone call. So there's lots of options, but they don't know where you live. So that's okay. But let me talk about one more thing before we get into this demonstration. And that is, let's talk about the different kind of recruiters, because I think that's always helpful, Jeff. Would you agree? Yeah, you're shaking.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah. So why is it important to know who you're talking to? Because there's really three kinds of recruiters out there. And they're all good people and they're all doing, God's work. But bottom line is internal recruiters is one. So there's internal recruiters, and these are people that work for the company. So an example that I always use is AT&T. Okay. They probably have 250, 200 recruiters. Maybe that's a little of exaggeration, but they have a lot of recruiters. And those recruiters are recruiting for retail stores. They're recruiting for the people that fix and install the towers. They're recruiting for the executive suite. They're recruiting for customer service. So they've got, they're covering a wide, swath of types of roles that they fill. And very seldom would they use an outside recruiter. The one event that they might use an outside recruiter would be for maybe a confidential search that they don't want anybody to know that AT&T's looking to fill that role. But for the most part, internal recruiters work for the company, and your communication with them is going to be a little bit different in the sense that they are the company. They are, they're working for the hiring manager. So knowing that they work for the company is a good thing. If you're talking to a recruiter, there's nothing wrong with saying to the recruiter, can you tell me what kind of recruiter are you? Are you an internal recruiter or are you an external recruiter? The internal recruiters, they know the job well, they know the company, they generally know the hiring manager. They're going to cut to the chase. They're going to ask you, they're going to spend about 30 minutes with you on the phone. And they're screening to find out whether or not you check the boxes. And only if you check all 5 of the boxes or 4 of the boxes are they going to consider moving you to the next step. They're very methodical in their approach. External recruiters, there's 2 types. So there's a contingent recruiters, and contingent recruiters are just that. They don't get paid any money unless they place the candidate. So if I'm company XYZ and I sell cleaning products, and I have a new vice president of marketing role that I want you to fill for me, you might go out and hire 3 or 4 contingent recruiters to fill that job. You wouldn't have an obstacle in hiring more than one. But the only guy that gets paid any money is the guy that brings them the candidate. So I've done some contingent recruiting along the way through the years. But for me, I would rather lose money on the golf course than do contingent work. And that's because I'm competing against a lot of other people typically, and I'm not going to get a paycheck unless I find the candidate. And sometimes what happens is the company 2 weeks into the search, they'll come back and they'll say, we decided not to fill the job. Well, I just spent 2 weeks working for free. So I selected another search model, and that's the retained search model. And so companies hire me, they pay me a retainer up front, and I'm exclusive. There's not another search firm that's working on the search. So they're committed to me. We both have buy-in. When I start presenting candidates, these are candidates that I want the company to talk to, because I've generally by that time talked to 50, 60, 70 candidates. And these are the best candidates that out of the candidacy pool that I've been able to find. So I really become a consultant for the company. Again, it's really important, and I highly encourage you, when you do get a call from a recruiter, to stop and say, can you tell me what kind of recruiter are you? And that will help you in your communications. Internal recruiter, again, you got to check the 3 or 4 boxes. External recruiters, contingent recruiters, get that person what they need quickly. Be honest with them about if another recruiter's called you and talked to you about this role, then make sure you're being honest with them, because if you don't, and the other company has presented you, then you're going to have egg on your face, because the company's not going to pay 2 recruiters to fill that job. They're only going to pay 1. And then if you're talking to a retained guy or gal, then you know that they're exclusive, and you can have, always have obviously open and honest conversations, but it's not going to be generally as much of a fire drill when you're working with the retained search executives. So that's a little bit about the landscape. I'm going to go in, and Jeff, are there any questions? I see some possible questions in there.
No questions, just some people putting their contact information as they connect with other people who are on the call.
Got it. Good. Okay. I'm going to share my screen here. How does that look?
It's coming up. Hold on. There we go. We see it.
Okay. So I'm going to go to Recruiter. I'm in Recruiter now, and this is the dashboard that you see as a recruiter. And what I'm going to do is go into advanced searches. And so today we're going to look for, I told you I was looking for a cost accountant down in Tampa, Florida, actually in the Bradenton area. So that's what that's the search we're going to conduct. But first, before we start that search, so you can start looking at what I look at, this is my dashboard, okay? And so I haven't selected anything, so there's 0 candidates up here in the top, okay? But as I start making selections, you'll see how this populates and where we go. But in general, my network, because I've got a lot of connections and I accept all invitations for the most part, is open to work, okay? So this is again where a candidate selects that box where they check that they are open to work. They're open to new opportunities. Now it shows up in 2 different ways, and we'll see this as we start looking at candidates. But you can put a green wreath around your head, is what I call it, and that tells everybody that goes to LinkedIn that you are actively looking. And then there's another one that just tells recruiters that you're looking for a new opportunity. So it doesn't have that green wreath, but it has it tells me that you are open to new opportunities. As a candidate, which one would I check? If I'm actively looking for a job, I would put the green wreath around my head, and tell everybody that I'm looking for a new opportunity. And why would I do that? Well, because it's not only a trigger, that green wreath is not only a trigger for recruiters, but it's a trigger for other people in your network as well. Let's say that you are a salesperson and you're looking for a new sales leadership role. And 5 years ago, you worked for a guy or a person that was a sales leader, and you got a great relationship with that person, but you haven't talked to him since you left the organization 5 years ago. And so she's out there looking through LinkedIn and comes across your name as they look at their contacts, and they say, oh, Beth is available. She's not working right now. She's actively looking for a new opportunity. That may be somebody I should reach out and talk to immediately. So even people that aren't using the product as a recruiter, Everybody has visibility to that. And if I were a candidate looking for a new opportunity, I would just tell everybody in my network. So that's my candid answer, and I'm going to stick to it. I think it's the same advice that you get from, every other recruiter that you talk to. So I think it's good practice. The next one here is more likely to respond. LinkedIn tracks you as a candidate, or they track you as an individual using LinkedIn. And you get a lot of messages from people, but if you don't reply to those messages, then LinkedIn tells me as a recruiter that you're less likely to reply. That doesn't mean that I won't send you a message, but I know going in that I'm probably not going to ever hear from that person. Okay. I know that sounds scary, but it's fact. Engage with talent brand. These are people that have engaged with my brand, Linked Executive Search, throughout my years of using the product. Have company connections. One way or another, they applied for a job or they're connected to me in some way. Past applicants, and then internal candidates. Okay. So a long list of people that I can search for, but in general, what you're going to see me do here as I start to search for a cost accountant in Tampa is that I like to start with a big funnel, okay? Meaning that I'd like to, my first go around might have 1,000 people, but I can't look at 1,000. So I'll come back and I'll continue to sharpen my saw a little bit so I can get that number down to 200 people or 300 people that I can start to have conversations with. So I said we're going to look for a cost accountant. So I'm going to put in cost accounting. There's a cost accountant, but let's just see. An assistant plant controller, because it is a manufacturing facility, might be somebody that might have a title that I'm interested in. It's a senior cost accountant. So chances are, if somebody's a controller, they wouldn't be a candidate for this role, but maybe they know people that I should know. So I'll put in plant controller. And then there was another one that I liked that just popped up that was a senior cost analyst. Again, companies call jobs different things. So let's just put that in there. May not find the person we want, but those are some good titles. I'm going to look at people that have included those titles either as current or past. But if I was really persnickety and I wanted to only look, I could check for current or could look for past, not current, or just past. So again, I'm trying to build a big funnel. So I'm going to look at current and past. And then I'm going to look at locations. And so the location I'm looking for is in Bradenton. Okay. Whoop. Is in Bradenton, Florida, but Tampa is really close to that. So is Sarasota. Tampa is probably about an hour commute. But again, how do I know that maybe somebody put in Tampa and actually lives south of Tampa and the commute wouldn't be that awful? So if they live in North Tampa, they're not going to be a candidate. I'm just going to put the greater Tampa area these are areas that they have LinkedIn has suggested and they got candidates. So I'm going to go ahead and click those. There's 2 candidates in Longboat and there's 7 in Palomito. Oh, here's Ruskin. That's not too far away as well. So let's go ahead and stick with those cities. And then one of the things that is really important is that this person's got to have manufacturing experience. So I'm going to put in manufacturing. If they work for Disney, they're probably not a candidate that I'm looking for because Disney doesn't manufacture anything. If they work for Marriott Vacation Club, their headquarters is down in this area, probably not a candidate. But if they work for Pepsi or they work for Coke, that would be a great fit. Okay. I can also, I'm going to go back up. So I'm going to select that as well, or put in manufacturing. Whoop. But let's just go up and let you see what else I can search for. Now, this has given me 315 candidates, okay? But if I wanted to, I could also put skills that I was looking for. I could put workplace environments, on-site, remote, hybrid, okay? In this particular case, the person's got to go to the office. And so I'm not going to put in a workplace type. I can put in assessments or skills. I can put in the companies that are in that market if I wanted to. If the company wanted just people that graduated from Harvard, that doesn't happen very often, but there's sometimes that companies are looking for candidates that come out of a Ivy League school, and so I might search for Ivy League schools there. This is that age question that everybody always comes up that wants to know, and I'm happy to talk about that if anybody's got a question, but I can click on year of graduation. So in this particular case, the client has not identified that they want, somebody that is, 20 years old or 25 years old or 30 years old. They've not given me any indications, which is helpful. So I don't have to put in any age, but you can see how I can slide the scale here and make modifications to, when people graduated. This would be somebody that graduated in 2001. So they're, theoretically, they've got about 20 years of experience. If they graduated in 2009, they've got about 12 years of experience. So I can modify that if that is something that is of question or concern or something the company has brought up. One of the roles I mentioned earlier was a market manager in Dallas, consumer packaged goods, manufacturing and distribution, because this person will manage 11 manufacturing facilities. And they have actually identified that they would like an up-and-comer. They would like somebody that's maybe only got 5 or 6 years of experience that they can train and develop into a more senior executive over the next 5-10 years of that candidates. But because this is such a hard search, the market manager role, I'm looking at people that have got all kinds of experience. So I don't have those blinders on. If I had 50 candidates that would talk to me about the role, then I would probably stick to, what they're looking for, somebody with 5, 6, 7 years of experience. But because it's such a tight market right now, crazy recruiting, I'm talking to anybody. I don't care how many years of experience they've got. And I'll let the company figure out if that person's got too much experience or not enough. Typically, years of experience goes along with salary. So the salary on this job is only in the category of about a base of 120 to 150. So typically, as I identify more senior people that have been in manufacturing and have managed multiple manufacturing facilities and have that distribution experience, and they've been doing it for 20 years, 25 years, they're more expensive. They're already at a base of 175 or 200, and I don't have that budget. So it's not necessarily that they're old that I don't want to talk to them, but typically what I find is they just come with a bigger salary bump, and the company doesn't have that budget for it. Industries, keywords, employment type. Is this a part-time, full-time? Is it contract work? And then network relationships. So out of all of these 300 that we looked at, or that were in this search, 315 people, you can see that most of them are 292 of them are third degree. So I'm not even connected to anybody in this group. I do look at that though, because if there's somebody that I'm connected to quickly, then I have their email address and their phone number, and that might be low-hanging fruit. So I might go after that person. Okay. So now let's go and look at some candidates. So we've loaded this thing up. I've got to move us out of the way. Go to search, and now we're going to start to see some candidates. Obviously, this is confidential. If you see a friend of yours up here, I'm not picking on anybody, but we're going to look at a lot of different profiles. So here's Elena, and Elena lives in Tampa. Okay. She's got 2 years of accounting experience. She's a cost accountant at Siemens Energy. And she was a financial analyst at Culligan. She graduated, she got her master's degree. So like, okay, looks like a candidate I want to learn a little bit more about. So I'll come in here. She's open to work. Okay, but she hasn't put the, or she has, this is the green ribbon I'm talking about. So Elena is actively looking for a new job. Okay. Now she has 10 years of experience as a cost accountant, financial analyst with 10 years of experience. So the keywords cost accountant is highlighted throughout here. She's worked in Culligan, General Electric, great company. She's had some good jobs. She's from Russia. Okay. That doesn't bother me. So I want to talk to Elena, but there's no way for me to reach Elena. As I told you earlier, she's open to work, but she hasn't come to one of our seminars. So she hasn't put her contact information into the summary section. So I only have one option. I've got a couple options. I could go in and Google Siemens Energy in Tampa and get the phone number to the switchboard and try to get to Elena directly. But because she's actively looking, she may be more responsive to looking for or answering a reply to a message. So I go in here and I've got all of these templates that I can build. And it's a cost accountant template. And I just say new opportunity area, looking for a senior cost accountant. Let's talk for 3 minutes, Macy. This is a template, so I got to correct the template, and I've got to personally modify this for Elena because I want her to know that I think I've looked at her profile. And then I just give her a short little blip. Because there's not a lot of people in this market, I'm going ahead and giving her my phone number. Because if she's interested in this role, I don't want to play back and forth in LinkedIn. I want to get out of LinkedIn and I want to have a conversation with Elena. So I don't generally attach the job description. See a second here. I don't generally attach the job description because I'm too, like you, trying to create conversations. But if I wanted to, I could come down here and insert the job brief for Elena to look at. But I've given her enough information. She's actively looking. So let's hit send. And then she's got that message now. I'm going to put her into the project because I want to keep track of Elena. So it is the ATT opportunity, and she's not been unconnected or contacted. She's been contacted now. So I'll save that. I'll save her to that project. And now when I go and look at projects, Elena is going to pop up in that project. So many of you hear about applicant tracking systems, and this could be considered a mini applicant tracking system for some companies. For me, it's not necessarily an applicant tracking system, but I do when I need to run reports for my clients and they want to see the names of the people that I'm looking at and talk to, then I can download information from this radar here, and I can download it into a CVC file that I can manipulate and manage and provide reporting back to my client. And I go back sometimes when I told you I was working for this organization in California, and they're in the parking business. And about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I did some work for a company in California that put up awnings in businesses for, to shield from the sun shelter, heat awnings. You see them in doctors' offices and sometimes restaurants and so forth. But that's a very similar business to the parking business. So I went back and looked at that database to see if there was anybody in that database that I had talked to previously that would be of interest to look at again. So I do use this, and they say forever. So I do go back and forth from project to project occasionally and look up candidates. Jeff, do we have any questions?
Kurt, there was one question in here. Bob asked, how do I show that I'm looking without the green wreath? As I want to leave my current position, but don't want them to know. Well, I think it's real evident. If you look right here in front of you, you'll see that Elena's got the green wreath, but Robert doesn't. Scott doesn't, but yet both of them are saying that they're open to work.
That's right.
So, you know, it shows you have that option. You have that option when that pops up, when you select it.
Right. You have the option of either using the green wreath or not using it. And it's in the settings section. I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter now, so it's hard for me to go back and forth, but it's in the settings of your personal account. But to Jeff's point, here's a candidate that is actively looking, Robert Martin. He's an experienced controller. He lives in Clearwater, Florida. He hasn't given me a lot of information. So this is one of the other things we want to talk about is this summary section. I consider this some of the most valuable real estate for you as a recruiter or as a candidate out there. I mean, this is a section that you have the opportunity to tell people in words, not in cut and paste from your resume, in words about who you are and what you've done. One of the things that I recommend, I put in cost accountant or manufacturing keywords, but you can see where manufacturing and cost accountant are popping up here. Now, Johnson Mathery, I have no idea what Johnson Mathery is, but that's okay. I don't have to know because I can go click on it. I don't know where that took me. Hold on a second. Whoa, what did I take out? All of a sudden I got 1.4 million people. That's crazy. Well, okay, manufacturing cost account. That is so weird. I'm going to go back to Recruiter just out of curiosity here and see if I'm going to go to history. And that was the 1.4 million keywords. This is the one we just did. Okay, so we're now back where we were before. Robert should pop up here. But you could see where Elena, she's open to work. She's put the wreath there. And she hasn't taken full advantage of the summary section. But look at all the keywords that she's included here. Okay. If I was looking for somebody that had experience in Tableau, wow, I put that in keywords and she'd come right up to the top. Okay. There was a long time ago, I was working with Board and Dairy in Dallas, and we were looking for people that had experience with route settlement. Only if you were in the consumer packaged goods business and worked for a company where they loaded the truck every morning and that truck went out and the people that were driving those trucks were responsible ultimately of selling off of their truck. So they may take, in my case at Pepsi, the driver might take 400 cases of product out in the morning, hoping to sell 400, but as he goes around his route, he may only sell 100 cases of product. When he gets back to the warehouse, we got to settle up because he owes me for 100 cases of product that he sold. And so we've got to settle the books and put that inventory back into the inventory. Well, just to tell you, most people don't put route settlement on their resume or anywhere. It's just not something that's really common. But to be able to put that into keywords was amazing because I could find people all over the country. But the point here is this summary section is the best real estate for you as a candidate. One of the things I coach candidates to do is to make a list of the keywords that you what describes you as a candidate? What are the key words? What are the things that you've done? You might have 100 of them. This is a place that you want to put those 100 key words, is because you don't know what kind of recruiters looking for you and what skills they might be looking for. So this is a great place to load that up. Again, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that I have in the summary section that I'm a headhunter, I'm a recruiter, I'm a search executive, I'm a, I use all the different acronyms for recruiting to try to gain as much attention as I possibly can from anybody that's searching for me on LinkedIn. Now, back to Elena here. She's done a good job of telling me a little bit about what she's done in each of those jobs. Again, I don't recommend that you cut and paste your resume in here. This is an opportunity for you to use words and put sentences together. And that's what I encourage you to do, is not just cut and paste out of your resume, but to take the time and use the key words that you've got to fill up and populate these areas. Jeff, remind me, in the summary section, how many words can you put in there?
I believe you have 2,200 characters.
2,200 characters. That's a lot of words. That's a lot of material that you can fill in there. So again, one of the biggest misused territories in LinkedIn for candidates is they don't use that section to talk about what they've done in the experience that they've had, and they don't provide their contact information. If Elena had given me her contact information, I'd be ringing the bell right now, because it'd be somebody that I could call and talk to immediately. Now, the other thing I've got to think about as I do conduct this search is, you all know there's a hurricane that's about to hit Tampa. And so I'm also, have to balance on the fact that people aren't maybe looking at LinkedIn this week. They may be batten down the hatches. So I got to be patient with it. But the bottom line is, you would be amazed, everybody on this call, you would be amazed at the hit rate, meaning that for this particular search, I've already sent out probably about 100 notes to candidates, and I think I've gotten 8 or 9 that have replied back to me. The general consensus for LinkedIn is they talk to people that about 8%, 5% is good. When things are really good, in the first of the year, I was really busy working on all kinds of stuff. And my return rate of people returning messages got up into the 23%. And that's very unusual, but that just is systemic as the market is. So highly recommend that you as a candidate, this is another really important tip, that every message you get, that you send a reply back, even if it's something that you're not interested in. Thanks, I'm not interested. Thanks, great data. Okay, I'll pass it on to my network. Just anything, but reply to messages, because they do track you, as I told you earlier, and they put you in that box of candidates that are less likely to reply. So be the candidate that replies to everybody's message. Here's another one, Scott. He's open to work. But he's not actively told everybody. So it's only the recruiters that are going to get a chance to see it. But look at here, he's got a pretty robust summary section, done a really nice job of using keywords to, again, identify the things that he's done. He's come out of Refreshco. I don't know what that is off the top. I'm going to guess that it's a consumer packaged goods business, but let's just go check it out. I'm always interested to learn what companies do. Our drinks are in every table. Okay. So they're a beverage solution provider. They probably are a co-packer for companies. Here's a case where there's somebody that I went to school with. Chances are I'd never know this person, but she lives in Dayton, Ohio. I could message Ashlyn and say, "Kate, can you connect me to, can you help me make that connection?" I think I saw also, I'm going to close this down, that there was, oh, okay. So there was also one connection here So there's one person, Zane, that is in my network. I'm connected to Zane, and Zane is connected to Scott. So one thing I occasionally do if I'm having difficulty getting a hold of people is I'll go in and look at Zane or Francisco, and here's his email address. So I grab that, I can copy it, throw it into an email, send Francisco a note and say, hey, Francisco, you're connected to Scott on LinkedIn. Would you consider sending him a note or forwarding to me his email address or phone number? Now, that doesn't happen very often either. I mean, again, I don't know why people are reluctant to share that information. I know that it's good ethics for Francisco to reach out to Scott to say, hey, Scott, I don't even know you that well, but a recruiter's asked for your contact information. Is it okay if I give it to him? But if I'm connected to somebody, I always tell these people, I'm not going to wear them out. I'm not going to call them 20 times. I'll send them one message. If they don't reply and they're not interested, then I'm not going to be a pest. But I can see where handing out or providing people with that information might be a little creepy for some people, but you might get that request occasionally. Again, pretty good job on the jobs that he's the roles that he's had. He's come out of a couple of good companies in the manufacturing, or not Zane, sorry. Let's go back to Scott or Robert. So Robert hasn't given me hardly any information, but he has in here that he's manufacturing and cost accountant. The chances that Robert will ever get back to me is really slim, but I can't make that assumption because I'm a recruiter and I've just got to assume that, people want to talk to recruiters. So I'm going to go ahead and send him a message, even though he's likely not to get back to me. Because I don't know. I just, you just don't ever know who and when. I sent out some notes today for market manager role, and 2 people called me on their way to work. So that's unusual, but that's why I provide them with my phone number. Again, I can save this guy to the project, put him in there as plant manager, and I've reached out to him. So anybody else using this database on my team that I'm working with, there's another gal that uses Recruiter and is on my team. She would then actively be able to see that I've already reached out to Robert. So that's how and why we use and put that data into the notes. What questions have people got now? We're getting down to 10 minutes left here, Jeff. There's got to be some questions. Nope, you're muted, Jeff. There you go.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. So Susan has a great question. How much stock do you put into the candidate's profile photo?
Yeah, great question. I don't put a lot of credence into it. I do recommend, excuse me, I do recommend to candidates, Susan, that they put an updated picture in there. I think the bigger mistake that people do is sometimes they will, I'm trying to think of a name, maybe Sean, that's a good one. And it's a picture of a husband and wife. I hate that because I don't know which one Sean is, it the male or the female. So I highly recommend that it's a professional picture. You don't have to pay to have it taken. You don't have to go to a professional and spend $500 on it. Take it with your iPhone. But a current picture is best. And just keep it simple and clean. Don't pull one from the beach.
Yeah. Bob says, I'm confused. Can you about the recruit putting the green reef on and not, and I'll show you how to do that, Bob, in just a second. When Kurt's done sharing his screen, I'll pop up my screen so you can see exactly how to do that. So you can, to put the reef on or not put the reef on.
Yep.
Susan also says, if you're currently unemployed, what's the best way least damaging way to represent your current job?
Well, so, it's not uncommon. It used to be, and I'm somewhat of a storyteller. When I was growing up as a kid, I remember my father came home and he was a vice president of sales and worked in the automotive industry. And I remember he came home from work one day and he had lost his job. And it was like, this is table talk. Don't tell anybody, this is not, not a familiar place and we don't want to advertise it. Right. And I remember it being a very confidential conversation. And my dad had to, like we all had to at one point, put on our big boy panties and go find another job without technology, because this was back in the 70s. But, so don't try to hide the fact if you're actively looking, it's okay. And it's okay if you've been out for a little bit of time. The thing that I encourage candidates to do is to keep your saw sharp. If you've been looking for and actively looking for a job for 6 months to a year, then I just want you to stay sharp in your skills. Make sure that you continue to get training in your particular field, that you're going to seminars, you're actively learning. If you're in the technology sector, then you're learning a new language. You're practicing some skills, some new data coding or something in that category. But I highly recommend that people keep their saw sharp, but there's really no way to hide it, and don't try to hide it because it's going to come up. The key is to be able to explain to a company or an organization what you've been doing in that spare time. What have you been doing with your spare time? Have you been volunteering? Have you been, did you take care of an elderly parent? And so that's just as important as much as important as trying to, sew a thread between where you were and where you want to go next.
Yeah, I think, and Vanessa sort of had the same question and just said you answered her question. Here's what I like. This is what I recommend for people to do if you're currently unemployed. I know LinkedIn in the last 6 months changed it, and you can actually put down that you're unemployed, that you can list a position, that you're between jobs or whatever the issue was, or how you were taking care of a parent, whatever those health issues, whatever. Here's what I recommend. You have to have a current job to move up in the ratings. So if you don't have a current job, you're not going to become an all-star, meaning you're going to fall farther down Kurt's list when he's looking for candidates. So for a current job, list the job title or titles, 2 or 3 job titles that you're interested in. For the company, put your phone number and email address. And then in the description of the job, list 2 or 3 bullet points that tells people why they should call you and hire you, what you can do for them. And then at the very bottom of that, the very last bullet point, list open to new opportunities. So you've listed a current job from the time you left your last job. And then when you get a new job, you just delete that off of your LinkedIn profile and just then post the new job.
Yep. I think that's great. If somebody has been out, and this happens all the time too, that if let's say you were employed by an organization and you became unemployed in March of 2022, I think it's a-okay if you've got that, you were at that company from 2020, let's call it from 2018 through 2022, and it looks like you're still there. Okay. That's acceptable as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, when we get to the new year, then you left in 2022 and now it's 2023. And what have you done? That's when I think Jeff's recommendation comes in very highly recommended, that you consider putting language in there to let people know that you are actively looking for a new job and that you've left that last one.
Let me show you as far as where to change it at. Oh, just FYI, number 1, I put my phone number and email address in my banner. I want to make it easy for anybody to reach out to me. But if you go to your profile, so you select view profile, and then down here where it says open to work, when you click on it, open it up, and then this little down arrow, all LinkedIn members, meaning that you'll put the little green banner on, or for recruiters only, it just, you click right here, and only people using LinkedIn Recruiter. Now you have to remember that maybe less than 50% of recruiters pay for the recruiting package.
Right.
I know there's a firm here in Dallas, they have 30+ recruiters, and none of them pay for the full-blown recruiting package. So they would never fine you by putting recruiting only. That's why if you're looking for a job, let people know it's not it used to be a virus. I think, like you said, years ago when your dad was laid off, and I know when I was laid off back in, in 87 or 2000, people were like, oh, I don't want to get too close to you because that layoff virus may rub off on me. So,
right.
Yeah, just something to consider.
Yep.
All right. If you got 2 or 3 things, what were the top 2 or 3 things you'd like to recommend everybody?
Well, first, reply to all messages, put your contact information in the summary section or on your banner so that recruiters can reach you. Your activity will increase dramatically. I guarantee it. Not everyone that calls is going to have a job that is a good fit. They may be calling to network with you, but you'll have a lot more conversations if you give them the contact information. And then use keywords. And you don't have to do this overnight, but start in the back of your notebook, a list of keywords that describe you and the things that you've done. And as silly as it might be, if I were to go back and redo my profile, if I was actively looking for a consumer packaged goods company business organization, I might put in route settlement in there. Even though that's an old term and so forth, somebody might be looking for somebody that has route settlement experience at some point. So make a list of those keywords, and then often go in and make sure that they're smothered throughout your LinkedIn profile. You will be amazed at how much quicker you'll be searched and how much new traction you'll get.
Great advice. And just one more thing to add to that: when Kurt calls you up, ask him, Kurt, thanks for calling. So what was it on my LinkedIn profile that made you call?
Yeah.
When you ask that question to a recruiter, they're going to tell you, well, we saw route settlement. And that's what, you may not even have realized what it was, what's important to them, but at least now you have something to start talking, that you can talk about what it is they're interested in.
Yep. Good.
Right.
Well, good stuff, guys. If I can be of any resource, Jeff, always call, and good luck to everybody on the call here. I wish you success quickly and get back to work.
Right. Well, Kurt, thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
All right. For everybody else, we need to do the LinkedIn promise. So if you will, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Very, very, very important. Use that. Always send a LinkedIn request. When you send that LinkedIn request, always send that personal note. I get connection requests every day. Those who send me a note, I'll connect with them. Those who don't send me a note, I don't connect with them, because I want to know why we should connect. You saw me here today on LinkedIn Tuesdays. You appreciate my website, whatever it is. That's what I'm always looking to do. So on LinkedIn, whenever you see that white connect button, don't click on the white connect button, because the white connect button sends that generic invitation. If you see that white connect button, click on the person's face, and then up should come a blue connect button. That's where you're always going to want to connect. When you send a blue connect button or click on it, it will always allow you to send a personal note. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Tomorrow for Interviewing Wednesdays, we'll be talking about analyzing the job description, how to look at the job description, how to decide what you need to do when you're applying for a job. That'll be with Mark McDonald and Walt Glass. This Thursday, being the 5th Thursday of the month, I'm going to do a special presentation on successful job searches. Focus on these 4 areas. I think there's 4 main areas of your job search that you need to focus on, and I'll talk about those and share some tips about those 4 areas. And then this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting, the 10 new things you need to know about health insurance for 2023. Mike Chapman's been helping those of us who've been unemployed for many, many years. He's been a great friend. He can help you walk you through the new Medicare stuff, the new healthcare program that are out there. He's actually going through training right now. And as of October 1, everything opens up. So we're doing this on the 30th of the month so that he can, get you up and going. If you have any questions about, what you need to know about health insurance for 2023, should be a very interesting program. We are meeting in person. So if you're welcome to come join us in person, or you can meet us online, and all those details are out there. And if you email me, if you'd like, I can get you the details. You're welcome to join the Career DFW and Career USA LinkedIn groups. On the Career DFW LinkedIn group, we're 3 people short of 14,100. So if you're not part of it, you could be one of the 3 people that takes us over to 14,100. You don't have to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join that group. You can be anywhere. It's just that I happened to start that group when I started that website. This session has been recorded. You will be able to go back and watch it on the Career USA YouTube channel or the Career DFW Facebook page. On the Career USA YouTube channel, just click on playlist and then select whichever playlist you want: resumes, interviewing, LinkedIn, and then just click on view full playlist, and you can go back and watch whichever lesson you want. The newest one should always be on the top. Vanessa, thank you very much for joining us from California. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, you're welcome to join the Career USA mailing list. Just send an email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. And yes, our Friday meetings, even though we're starting to meet back in person, we're still doing it online. So you're welcome to join us online this Friday morning. Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Kurt was a volunteer today speaking to you. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 14 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So please consider making a donation when you get your next job. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Tuesday afternoon, and hopefully we'll see you later in the week.